It's easy to be a lot smarter than I am. And he's really a sharp guy, and I want him to be my wingman, okay? And others too, okay? You need several board of advisors. Now, they're different than the directors, all right? You see directors up there? Board of advisors are those people that are friends, people you know have skill set, and they're free. You usually don't pay board of advisors. Sometimes you do. You may give them a little equity because they're really that important. But generally speaking, they're people who are just going to do it out of the goodness of their heart because they want to help. I've had a lot of students say, why would people do that? Do it for nothing. Maybe I'm a fool. I'm doing it for about 5 or 6 companies right now, right? You do it because you want to. You want to help. You want to give back. You want to support them get started. It's a great feeling. It's a great feeling. I'm spending 10 hours at least a week with one company right now, literally every week, to help them. But it's a great feeling to know that, hey, they're relying on me and I can give them some guidance and help because they're young and they need the experience, the old guy's experience. And yet I reach out to other people too, obviously all the time. Board of advisors, 2 or 3 people there. Directors, once you get up and running, you'll probably have a board of directors, okay? And that board of directors will probably be paid to some extent, at least paid to come in for the meetings or given something to be your board of directors, because board of directors have fiduciary responsibilities. A little different, okay? It's a little different here. Board of advisors, hey, there's no responsibility there because they can walk away. All they're doing is giving advice, and you can take it or leave it. Board of directors are running the company. You work for them as the president or CEO or founder usually. So there's fiduciary responsibility. So it's a little different. You're going to pay the board of directors, but they're there after you get up and running. You have a company going that's making hopefully good money and everything else, and you have that board of directors to help you go into the future and to grow your company. Those sections of the management plan are absolutely important. Critical risk. How many know SWOT analysis, right? I consider that somewhat old school. Strengths, weaknesses, threats, and opportunities. I like critical risk. Again, I got this one from Drop to Me, the one that won the rice competition. Really like that critical risk section. Why? Because it talks about the risk and how you're going to mitigate them within about a paragraph. Now, every business has a risk. Several, probably. Okay? Several. Take a restaurant, because that's, God knows, everybody knows restaurants. What's the risk for a restaurant? Economic downturn. Happened a couple years ago. A lot of restaurants went out of business. A lot of them had to change their what they were offering. They had to make changes. You would put in there, if we had an economic downturn, what we would do to ensure that we stay in business. Okay? How would you do that? Well, you come up with smaller plates of food. You come up with $4.30 to $6.30, half price. Whatever it is to drive business into your restaurant. Talk about it and say, how would you mitigate it? Okay? Because everybody's got risk in their business. The dredging business has huge risk. And we would talk about, in the dredging business, if we weren't able to win a particular type of contract. Well, in Alaska, we say, well, this equipment we can move it to the Northwest. We can go down to the west coast of the U.S. and maybe pick up business there. It also can be used for not dredging. It can be used for a lot of other things like putting in wind turbines. It can be used for jetty setting. So we would say, hey, we can mitigate the dredging risk by doing other things for other companies. And we would source those types of businesses. We don't want to rely on just dredging, okay? Because again, you only have so much to dredge in Alaska. There's only a few ports here, Anchorage, Homer, etc. Okay? You would say, how are we going to mitigate those risks? Okay? That section is probably only a page. Now, as we're talking about this, how many pages do you think the average business plan is? Good, 20, 24, in that range. The one I have here, the Peonies one, is 18. One time I got called with Alan Johnson and another gentleman out of Homer to, and Rick, this you may remember this one was 70 pages, and the one gentleman wouldn't read 70 pages. I read it, a lot of reading, 70 pages. Could have been done in 30, probably. You got to make sure that you keep it to a number that makes sense, number of pages. I say that because critical risk, that's a page. You have 4 or 5 risks, it's a paragraph. You don't want a lot more. Why you do the critical risk and keep it simple is you just want to let people know that you've thought about what could happen. That's what they care about. At least you know and have thought about what your risks are. Because the last thing you want to do is go in for $1 million and somebody says, hey, did you ever think about the fact that you know, we may not need to do dredging for 2 years and you may be out of work? What? Say, oh yeah, we know that. That's why we're going to do jetty setting and why we're going to do wind turbine setting, why we're going to do some other work. This equipment can do all that. We've got a list in the addendum of all the things that this equipment can do. We're prepared for that eventuality. Be prepared. The old Boy Scout motto. Right here, critical risk. Understand them and be prepared. Okay? I love working with my students on the critical risk sections. Okay? Because it's easy and it's one that, you know, having, I guess, my age and experience, it's easy for me to assess what's wrong or what could happen. I've been through it. You know, this mortgage crisis is my 4th crisis that I've lived through. Okay? We had the savings and loan, we had the internet bubble, and my friend Vince, who I talked about, we talk about those things. Every 8 to 10 years, we go through one of them. Okay? Another crisis. Okay? You live through those, you kind of know what the risks are. Okay? All right? But you got to know your critical risk. Okay? Financials. What goes in this section? Obviously, but it's not as obvious as you think. What part of your financials goes in this section? What? The income statement, but how would you portray them? Compressed income statement. You don't want the whole enchilada in the section. You'll see if you get this business plan, there's a compressed, a very short income statement and compressed financials in the section. Then you say, for more detailed information about our financials, please see addendum 4.0. Do not put everything, your balance sheet and your cash flow and everything in this section.
I got a question.
Sure.
How are you going to have financials if you're just starting?
You got to estimate.
You're going to do projections?
Absolutely. You got to do pro formas, as they call them.
Okay.
You got to estimate what your expenses are going to be, what your revenues are going to be. Because if you don't have that, somebody's going to say, well, wait a minute.
Okay.
How are you going to make a business out of it? You've got to make good, solid estimates. Okay, and that's what pro formas are. Okay? By the way, how many years maybe do you want to go out on your financials?
3.
Yeah. 3.
3 years of guessing?
It used to be 5 was the standard when I was coming up. 5 to 10. I'm showing my age again. You know, things didn't change much back in the 60s and 70s, right? Literally, they didn't that fast. Things have sped up so fast now, 3 years is an eternity. It really is. All right? Those of us that lived through the 70s know that, right? Okay? Disco came and went, all those things in the 70s, right? All right? Right? Yeah. Hey, you know, come on. Bee Gees, these guys don't even know the Bee Gees, right? So, you know, things come and go. Things speed up. 3 years, please, only do 3 years. Because once you go beyond that, it's make-believe. It's make-believe in this day and age. 3 years, you want compressed income statement and a statement regarding cash flow in this section. You don't have the cash flow form. You'll say, we expect to be cash flow positive in our 2nd year of operation by about month 8. Please see the financials for detailed information. Okay? You want to keep this section pretty clean, understandable by anybody, showing that you know what your profits may be, like a compressed income statement, and a statement regarding cash flow. Okay? But your financials, all your detailed financials will be in that addendum. Okay? By the way, if anybody in here is ready to do financials for your business, we have a thumb drive that I can give you that has a very good Excel spreadsheet deal on it that does this for you. A lot of you aren't, what, you want that? You got it. A lot of you aren't maybe financially, you know, you don't have an accounting background, financial background, etc. plus what I've done for my classes, because I get 30-some plans every year or more, I want them fairly consistent. Now, you know what's funny too? I want the balance sheet to balance. Yeah. I don't know why, but it's something that tells me I want that daggone thing to balance every time. And it's not easy to do, even for me. You know, it's even for me, I get a problem trying to balance a balance sheet sometimes, right? Not the easiest thing when you're doing pro formas. We have an Excel spreadsheet that a young man put together. It was one of my MBA students. He's getting his CMA, his Certified Management Accounting. He actually works for one of the companies I work with now. Great young man, put this together. And it's on a thumb drive. All you do is there's 2 pages of assumptions. If you fill in those assumptions, and by the way, you're locked out of areas so you can't screw them up. You can unlock it, but it's locked so you can't screw it up. If you put your assumptions in, like how many units am I going to sell, what my unit cost is going to be, or my unit price is going to be for sales, you know, all my expenses. You have categories to add expenses. You can change the names of expense categories. And if you do, it'll follow through to all 3, the income statement, the balance sheet, and the cash flow statement. And it gives it to you. It's very, very slick and easy, okay? Even a non-financial accounting person can use it. Yes, Scott?
Alan, if we can have this up on our website, if you want to download it, AK Biz Plan.
Yeah, we'll do that. That's a good idea. Absolutely.
The business plan framework, rather than in this PowerPoint here, and we can put that out there probably this next week.
Absolutely.
Go out there and click. If we have a YouTube channel, all these videos are going to be out there. We have a Facebook page, so you can click and see any of these videos again, and we can download this, add a new page, and put this spreadsheet along with other things. So.
Excellent.
So give us about a week. It's akbizplan.org.
Yep. We'll do that. Because this, I guarantee you, it'll save you a lot of time and trouble. Okay? I use it all the time for every business I'm in now, or I work with. Because it is really a clean, slick way to do it. Okay? And you can't mess up, really. You'll see what I mean. If you have any questions, then you just give me a call and we can walk you through it. But it's pretty intuitive. Really is. Okay? We'll give that to you because it's really a neat way to get the financials done. Because obviously it's a very important section. And guess what? At the end here, what do we say? You want to put the funding in. Do you need $1 million? You need $100,000. And by the way, if you don't need at least 50 or more, you're probably not going to go out there and raise it from a venture or somebody. Because I'll tell you now, most people in the business plans and other places I've been, they say, hey, 50 grand or so, ask your Uncle Eddie for it. Or ask Grandma Moses for it, you know, your grandma. Ask somebody for it. You should be able to get 50 grand or so. All right, and I know Rick's going to be talking about equity funding, and there's going to have a debt funding section later this afternoon. There are ways to get funding, but, you know, an angel's going to say, wait a minute, 50 grand, why can't you get that? You know, actually at 100 is a good number. I always tell them, because you know what, you're going to underestimate what you need anyway. So if you think you only need 50 to 75, you're probably going to need 100. Probably. Maybe more. Okay? Everything takes twice the amount and twice the time to get going. So you always want to get a little bit more in. This, by the way, doing the financials through this Excel spreadsheet thing we have will tell you exactly, the cash flow will tell you, when you see the cash flow report, how much money you need. Because where you have your biggest negatives on your cash flows, that's the amount you need to have incorporated. You do that first. Don't put the money in first. Then you go back and say, I'm going to have, you know, I'm going to look for $500,000. You put that in there, and then you show your cash flow where, hey, you know, you have positive cash flow each quarter or so. You follow? Because you have a quarter of negative cash flow of $500,000. That tells you that's my low point, what I need. That's what I got to get. Okay? So, you know, the funding requirements are also spelled out right there for you on that financial setup. Okay? So you want $500,000 or whatever, and you ask for it. You say, I would like to get $500,000, and you'll love this. I was working with a gentleman about a year and a half, 2 years ago. He wanted $800,000 to $1 million. Okay, so I was out there trying to raise $800,000 to $1 million. And like a fool, I didn't ask him up front. And I never did. Well, maybe I wasn't foolish, but I never asked him up front what he was willing to give up for it until I had most of it raised. So then I had me email. I said, look, I'll make up his name, Ben, I've got money for you. Now let's talk about what you're willing to give up for that, because our equity angel investors, equity investors. He said, well, I'm not going to give up any of my company. I said, excuse me? He said, I'm not giving up any of my company. I looked him in the face. I said, go to the bank then. They lend. He said, I did. Nobody would lend me money. I said, yeah, that's why you're talking to me, Ben. Exactly right. And guess what? A venture or an angel or a venture person is not going to take 5% return or 10% return. Doesn't make sense. They want equity. Okay? They want equity, right? Put that in here. I'm willing to give up equity is my point. If you need that kind of money, you're going to have to say, I'm willing to give up equity. Unfortunately, you're going to have to give up something. Okay? You got to put that in here. If it is that you're going to go for a loan, an SBA loan, then you say, I'm going to go for an SBA loan. And there's a good chance a lot of you can get SBA loans depending on the business. What's the SBA loan? 250 limit? Something like that? 250,000 tops? I don't know either. I think it's about 250. But I mean, so if you need $1 million, it ain't going to be all SBA. It's going to be other things. You got to put that in the business plan. You got to put that in the business plan. Okay? You got to spell it out. Now I'm going for equity or I'm going for a combination. Okay? We're going for a combination. You can do some debt, some equity. Okay? I got that in a couple companies right now. It's a combination of debt and equity. Bear Distillery has a loan from the bank and also equity, from investors. Combination. Okay? Nothing wrong with it. In fact, that's good. Because I don't want to steal their thunder. He'll tell you what's better, debt or equity. I'm not going to get into that. But funding requirements, you got to lay it out here. Okay? Got to lay it out. Now, exit strategy, I would tell you in most businesses, you don't need 80% of them. Because you're going to do lifestyle type businesses. You're going to be something you want to keep for a long time. However, if you have a business that's a technology business or something that's going to grow and you really hope it makes really good traction in a few years and you're going to need a couple $1 million, you're probably going to want an exit strategy. That is where you tell everybody, how am I going to get the money back out of the company to pay my investors back and myself? And the ways you do that is an IPO, initial public offering, a buyout by management that can buy out the investors because you made a lot of money, you buy them out, give them 3 or 4 times their money, whatever your agreement is, let them walk. What is it that you're going to do? Merger acquisition, you're going to merge with another company, and they're going to pay you, some good money, whatever. What is it? How are you going to get out of the business? How are you going to cash out? That's your exit strategy. But again, a lot of you probably will not need that section, but I just bring it up there. Now, the last thing is appendices or addendums or whatever you want to call them. Okay? These are important because you're going to have like the financials back in there. You're going to have maybe some resumes back in there. The dredging company has about a 24-page business plan, but it's 40 pages in length. There's 16 pages of addendums. But important. Why? It's showing the equipment, shows all the schematics, and it shows some of the projects it can do. Very important for somebody to look at, especially for somebody like me, knows zip about dredging, right? I can look at that equipment and say, yeah, it does do what you're saying. It's economical and it's environmentally much more sound than the clamshell type product. Because I'm looking at that product saying, wow, okay? I see the schematics, I see how big it is, I see all those things. It's in the appendices, though. You talk a little bit about that in operations, about what the equipment can do and how well it does it. And you say, by the way, see the appendices for all the specs and all the other information you may want to know about our great new equipment. Okay? Put that in the back. Nothing wrong with having a lot of appendices, okay? All right? As long as it makes sense. Fair enough? Now, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. We're done. It's only 10 after 10. What questions do you have about business plans? No, that's just, no, not really. You just put that in the front on your index, say appendices, and say it's appendix 1, 2, 3, and what it is, and you're fine.
Is it better to number them or better?
Either. Well, I'd number them, since you're numbering everything else, I would number it. Yes?
When you are talking about your assumptions, like say you're starting a brand new business, so you don't have any previous data to work with,
It's throughout, really. It depends on what assumption you're making. For instance, if it's an assumption about, oh, the target market will accept this, and we can sell this volume, it should be based on the target market, like your target market. If you're going to try to sell 1 million units, you know, is your target market 2 million? Well, that's pushing it, okay? So you probably want to put that part in that section. Your financial section, you can certainly put some of your assumptions in there and say we're making an assumption that, you know, and you'll see that in our financials, that we made the assumption that we can get this particular price point because of our research, okay? I'll give you an example. Again, bear to still, because that's one comes to mind. We had a lady came in that we work with, it's a marketing company. We thought we were going to go into the mid-level. We went to high level because all the purchasing is being done at the ultra premium level. It's growing 11%. So we said, okay, we'll go into that level. And the assumption was because we can get a higher price, we can sell a better product and make a better name for ourselves. So the assumptions were we're going to be able to sell more in that higher level than we could even if we went into the mid-level. It was an assumption. Is it going to be right or wrong? Time will prove. But it was an assumption we made based on good factual data, though. As long as you're basing it on factual data, you should be okay. But throughout your business plan, you'll have assumptions in there and explain those, okay? In the sense that, you know, your marketing assumptions that you're going to be able to pay, a distributor will take your product and be able to move X amount of units. You may have called them and they say that. That's still an assumption. Until they do it, it's an assumption. It's not a reality.
So you would just kind of break it up throughout where it applies,
Mhm.
as opposed to having an appendix of
Right.
your assumptions.
No, you know what? If you wanted to do that, I don't. You know, the more I think about it, I wouldn't be opposed. I don't think anybody would be opposed if you had a section with your listing numerous assumptions, and maybe a recap of the ones within the body of your business plan. That would be a bad idea. Other questions?
Sometimes businesses put like 3-case scenario, like the best scenario, the worst scenario, and the status quo. Would it be okay to estimate even the prices according to each scenario?
Yeah, you could do that. Again, put those in the assumption. Now, do your mid-range assumption. Never go low or high in the business plan itself. If you want to do that and do it in the assumption, say, look, we've done best case, worst case scenarios, fine. Almost any investor is going to take your financials and divide them by 2 anyway. They're going to divide it by 2. And they're going to say, oh, wait a minute. Can I still make money? Okay? They want to know. Because any investor out there, an angel or a venture capital, have done this usually. They're not new kids on the block. They've done it. And they know that businesses, we exaggerate. We think a lot of ourselves. It's like our babies are always the cutest babies in the world, right? Everybody's got the cutest babies. How can you have everybody have the cutest baby? But they do, right? It's like our business. It's the best business going. We're going to make the money no matter what. Well, you know, let's cut it in 2 and see if you're profitable or you break even or whatever, okay? So you got to be careful there. Back there was a question.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, there's an acronym that you should keep in mind while you're writing your business plan, and that's KISS. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah, I agree. With the words and with the numbers, yeah. Keep it down, like I say, no ubiquitous, you know, all those things should be at a level, God, for a 4th grade level? I still can't believe that. We're writing the newspaper at the 4th grade level, okay. Keep it to the 8th grade level.